There's a lot to be praying about, and especially as we see this disturbing rise in the persecution of Christians worldwide, and including in the West, and often at the hands of government. The government of Hungary has actually responded by establishing the Hungary Helps Agency. Now, they have a mission, and their mission is to protect communities threatened by religious or other persecution, violence, catastrophes, or the effects of migration. Now, the Hungary Helps Agency is bound by Hungary's 1,000-year-old Christian heritage and the moral duty that heritage brings. They're focused on helping Christians, and they make no bones about it. Joining me now to talk about this in studio is the State Secretary for the Aid of the Persecuted Christians and the Hungary Helps Program. It's Tristan Azbej. Tristan, thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks for having me on the show after 6 years. This is the last time we had a discussion. Yeah.
Well, I know we've been in many, many meetings together, and we have worked as it pertains to the persecuted. Hungary has done remarkable work in the Middle East during my time on the USERF Commission. But tell us about the outreach that you're in charge of, and the fact that you make no bones about it. You're focused on helping Christians.
We have to just say the facts. Christianity is the most persecuted religion in the world. And some people who try to deny this, they claim that this is a sweeping sweeping statement, but it is all backed by facts. In the world, there are more than 360 million people who suffer discrimination, oppression, threats by terrorist organizations or genocidal attacks because of their faith in Jesus Christ. And there are many charities who are working for them, but the Hungarian government realized that this should not be left only for charities. The international community has to step up. Governments have to step up. And us being a 1,000-year-old proud Christian nation who is still courageous enough to say that and be proud about that, we realize that we decided that we will lead by example. So therefore, the Hungarian government established my department, which was the first ever dedicated governmental department for the aid of persecuted Christians in 2016, and right away we started the program, the Hungary Helps Program, which delivers humanitarian aid to those Christians who have been just attacked by terrorist organizations, which delivers aid and financial assistance to reconstruct, rebuild places like the Nineveh Plains in Iraq, where Daesh, ISIS, has committed atrocities against Christians, which offers Hungarian scholarships at Hungarian universities for those Christians in Africa and Asia who are unable or have no chance to go to the higher education system. Right. And now we can look back to from the time where we have last had a discussion 6 years ago, and I can report to you that we have reached about 2 million persecuted Christians by extending the solidarity of the Hungarian people towards them. We have run 330 projects for persecuted Christians in more than 50 countries.
Wow. And part of that has actually been rebuilding churches in some places that have been destroyed.
Yes, and when we rebuild a church in the Middle East or in Africa, then I go to a professional diplomatic event in the West, and they ask me the cynical question that why don't we support something more useful, like hospitals and schools? Now, we also support Christian hospitals and schools all around the world, but I can see the ignorance or the cynicism from the question. And the answer to that is that we always ask what is needed. And in many cases, our Christian brothers and sisters would choose their church to be rebuilt first before their homes are rebuilt. This is how important their churches are for them and their faith. So then we do something very innovative, and people don't understand. We support what they are asking from us. I give you one example. In Lebanon, we have supported the reconstruction of more than 60 churches. And that's only one country in the Middle East.
Well, and I know I've seen you at back during the Trump administration where we had these national gatherings hosted at the State Department. Hungary said the same thing publicly in front of all of those other countries, challenging them. What would you say to Christians here in the United States? You know, America wants to embrace religious freedom for all people, and I know you do as well, but you are focused on where the greatest need is. What would you challenge the church in America, Christians in America, to understand and do as it pertains to the persecuted church worldwide?
I visit these communities, I go to places where terrorist organizations threaten the Christians, and I remember once in Iraq I asked that, what is their greatest grief about their situation? And they told me that they have lost almost everything, their houses, their homes, some of them has lost their loved ones, but the greatest grief is that when ISIS was murdering them, when Boko Haram is still today murdering African Christians,
in Nigeria,
they were hoping for the Christian Western countries to come to their help. But the Christian West denied this help. So my challenge is to answer to this moral obligation, because even some Christians in the West say that it wouldn't be Christian-like to only support our Christian brothers and sisters. It wouldn't be politically correct. But the fact is that they are almost completely left alone.
And that's where the greatest need is. Mr. Secretary, thank you for joining us today, and I appreciate the work of Hungary.
Thank you for having me on the show.